My name is Angela Romans. The pronouns I use are she and her. I say I'm a child of the South. I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, and Atlanta, Georgia, and that continues to shape. As I grew up, my mom was a single mom for most of my childhood, and she was really a fighter. She showed up at meetings and with people and really fought to get me the kind of education opportunities that she thought I deserved. And it was embarrassing sometimes, but it was her way of really leaning into her vision for me and some of the kinds of things that she didn't get that she wanted for me and my brother. So I always say that I do the work that I do to make sure that Black mamas like mine don't have to fight to get their kids the kind of educational opportunities that I had and that all children deserve. I would say, people tell testimonials and stories about how seeing folks who reflect their experiences really helps pave the way for their possibility, for what they can see themselves being and doing and how they can see themselves leading. I'd say second, and not only do people need to see folks who look like them, but people also need to see all kinds of folks who don't look like them, potentially holding leadership and helping to shift the way that we see what leadership looks like, the image that we have in mind of what a leader is, those assumptions and those, as we call them, mental models. And I'd say third, because a lot of research shows that the more people who are at a table, the more inclusive that table is and the more diverse that table is, the more really equity and justice follow. So, people bring a different lens or bring a broader lens than the folks who are already at the table, and that can open the space for equity. So I'm just thinking of an example. I was in a training this last week where the trainer said, "Okay, boys and girls, we're gonna do X." And I did a little personal Zoom chat to that leader and said, just a reminder, not everyone identifies as a boy or girl. And there was one person in our group who, when they introduced themselves, said that my pronouns are they, but there's only one person. And I think if there had been 5 or 8 or 10 in our group, that leader probably would not have said, "Okay, boys and girls," because there would have been more people to speak up throughout the training to say, make sure you use they as my pronoun, etc. So getting more people at the table makes issues come up that are important, that other folks might have as their blind spots that they are not paying attention to, and can call them out and call other folks in to really paying attention to those issues that matter. I would say probably the most important place to start is really leading from your why and really getting clear about your story, about why you're a leader in PTA and why having a diverse leadership in PTA matters to you. When you lead with that why, you really lead walking in or towards your purpose. I want to have a more diverse PTA leadership versus why it matters to you. For me, it matters because I want Black mamas not to have to fight for their kids. Why does it matter to you? I'd say second, meeting people where they are, and listening to them and their stories. So that could mean going out to civil rights organizations or civic organizations that have a diverse membership. That could mean going to different religious organizations, churches and mosques and synagogues that may have majority populations that you really want to recruit into PTA. That can mean community centers, that can mean community organizing groups that you want to partner with to potentially have PTA leaders. So not just the ones also that you know about, ask around, who's doing good work in communities of color or LGBTQ plus communities or with young people, etc. And I would say also think about, what is your succession plan? When is the next president stepping out of that role? Where do you expect openings to happen in leadership? And being really intentional so that as you're recruiting folks, you're like, the president is stepping down in 2 years. We really want to have a diverse executive board. And so, let's think about what that could look like over the next 2 years. And we'd love you to consider, stepping into a leadership role, a greater leadership role over that 2 years. And then I would say, really start by doing your own work. And that means, individually, as a group for your PTA. So one example that someone brought up is, PTA has more commonly translated documents into Spanish, which is really an important step forward. But that doesn't necessarily mean that folks have a real understanding of the culture of, say, a Dominican or a Mexican American parent that you're trying to reach, and why it may be important to call that parent señor or señora to show respect, right? It's not just we're going to translate in Spanish. It's what is most meaningful to that community in order to connect with you in your recruitment pitch. Some of that is if we build it, they will come. Like, we say we're committed to diversity and therefore people will flock to us. That doesn't happen. It just isn't the way to do things. So really meeting people where they are, going to them, again, listening, etc. Expecting people to come, like, I don't know why they didn't show up. Well, that's a big mistake. That mindset is not the right one. I'd say second common mistake that people make is bringing in people to be the only. So like, we want to have more young people or younger people, so we'll bring in one 20-year-old or one high school student or one, trans parent or et cetera, et cetera. I always try to make sure no one is the only. So like, I have a rule of 2. If we are bringing in, if we are really going to recruit at a local Black church, let's make sure to bring in at least 2 Black parents, so that no one has to be the only person speaking for their race or their gender or their, whatever identities they hold. So the rule of 2, don't bring in an only. It's exhausting. It might seem like progress in your work, but it's exhausting for people who are the only and have to be the only representative of that identity. I'd say giving people that chance to lead and opportunities to contribute and incorporate things that build their leadership, whether it's leading an activity or leading workshops, et cetera, so that folks can really feel like they want to stay when they come to PTA and your table gets more diverse. So, really empowering the leaders who you're recruiting so that they will continue to grow. And then I would say connecting folks with mentors is a good way to help continue that leadership. Folks who might have been in PTA for a while, who can kind of show them the ropes and translate the PTA way, and also aren't afraid to like shake up the PTA way and say, this is how we have done it. How would you do it differently? What do we need to do to make it better, and to keep a diverse group of at our leadership? And then what gets measured, matters. And so it's important to set goals. For me, as a board chair in organizations, I've always said, I want to have a majority of people of color board. That's something I've been clear about in recruitment. Whatever your goals are, make sure you set them and state them. And that's for racial and ethnic diversity, for language, for age, for religion, for for sexual orientation, for gender identity, whatever those areas are where you need to build your table and expand it. if you don't set goals, you won't know where your progress is, and you won't know if things are sliding backward as well. So making sure to set those goals and targets and being really clear about why they matter.